So people have already been asking where the last remaining conference videos are. And truth be told, I actually recorded them, but unfortunately the audio was really, really weird, so I had to re-record them. So that's what I'm doing right now. So everybody, welcome to my review of the Sony press conference. Now already, I have to admit this, I did not watch the press conference live. I had some other things going on, and on top of that, I wasn't able to watch the Nintendo Treehouse live again because I had other things going on that needed my attention. And so, at this point, I had to go and watch them when they became available, either on YouTube or wherever. And I tried to keep myself as out of the loop as I possibly could, but it was kind of hard not to notice certain announcements happening. So with that said, I'm going to approach because I did watch the entire thing through. I have reactions to a lot of it, and so we're just going to go ahead and go, and here we go. So first of all, props to Sony for having a live orchestra there, or a live symphony orchestra to literally play out any of the music that was happening on the screen. Because every trailer, I believe, they were playing right along with, and they had something to do with the music. I'm assuming that the gameplay had music into it, but they synced themselves up so that we could appreciate it. But I thought that was a nice touch. It's one of those things one of those little quirks that I enjoy Sony for doing. And then from there on in, this was a Sony conference like all the others in the last couple of years. It was game after game after game. It was literally pumping everything up and really getting people excited for what's to come from Sony. And so we actually bounce into our first trailer, which was... I'm going to try and describe these as best as I could, because a lot of these trailers had really great setups, and sometimes they had good reactions, and sometimes they had bad. But we'll go into all of them. And this one was an epic trailer of a boy playing with his toys out in the middle of the snow, and then he finally goes home, and he hears his father's voice, and he's like, "Boy, take your mother's knife." "Okay, Dad. Why am I taking Mommy's knife?" "'Cause I am hungry, and we're going to hunt deer." And out of the shadows comes freaking Kratos. Viking Kratos. So this was basically the gameplay demo / trailer for the new God of War in the series. And yeah, Kratos got a new look. He looks older. He's kind of... I want to make the joke he's either Viking Kratos or he's Lumberjack Kratos, because man, that beard. Holy crap, that beard. And he's a freaking Viking. That was awesome. And then the other thing that also caught me, I actually had to go halfway through this to recognize the voice, but I'm like, that's not the Kratos voice. This is different. And I had to listen to it, and then it finally hit me. I'm like, I've heard this voice before. I've heard him. And it was freaking Christopher Judge. Such a great casting choice. So for those who don't know, Christopher Judge, he played Teal'c in Stargate SG-1. That's like the most prominent role I think he has in his career. And so that's the place to go. And I love the casting choice, because he's got the super deep voice. And since this is supposed to be an older Kratos, it fits. It really does fit. Anyway, so that reaction aside, we go on this kind of Uncharted or Last of Us kind of adventure where Kratos is trying to teach this boy to hunt. And in the meantime, we encounter monsters and trolls and all of that, while Kratos is trying to teach this boy to hunt stag, or how to hunt deer. And he gets this stag, and he's having real problems trying to get to it, but at the same time, he's almost like Ellie is to Joel in Last of Us, where if you're fighting something, he's going to support you with his bow in the background. And like every time that we got into combat, you actually saw Kratos toss him the bow. And so that's what he would do. And the other thing I also want to mention is, like, okay, God of War, we're expecting the Blades of Chaos, right? Nope. He's got this big old Gimli axe, which all of a sudden starts having shimmering magical effects, which makes you instantly go, wait. Okay, after the events of all of the God of War games, you would think he would not want to deal with any more gods. He was done, And all of a sudden, we're seeing him wield a magic axe, which I'm only assuming came from one of the Norse gods. So at that point, it's like, I mean, he could have gotten it another way, but it's kind of hard not to just go, I thought you were done with gods. Did Thor bestow this upon you, or did somebody else do that? And so you had that happen, and so it's like a little bit of a, after your whole deal with killing all of the Greek gods, and yes, spoilers ahead, but, statute of spoiler limitations has run out. He killed all of the Greek gods. You would think he would not have anything to do with any other pantheons. And there you go. He's got magic weapons. And we actually had... So the other thing, too, is, like, in the early parts of the video, it's confirmed Kratos is still a dick. I didn't think that his personality would change that much. But the end of the trailer actually kind of proved me wrong, because when they actually track down the stag and he teaches the boy to shoot and go for the kill, there's actually a point where the deer is dying, or the stag is dying, and the boy doesn't want to kill it. But in turn, Kratos is like, I understand your pain, and he says, hold the knife up. And he then puts his hand over it and pushes the knife in to finally put the stag out of its misery. Which is kind of a heartfelt moment that you wouldn't expect from Kratos, of all people. And I liked it. Just because I'd been waiting for this kind of moment since I had gotten my hands on the series. I mean, I'd have these little moments here and there in God of War 3 and in God of War Ascension where he was a happier guy, but it always went back to the brooding, dark Kratos. And so at that point, I actually kind of hope that that's where this goes, that he's happier, that he's more content, and the reason that he has to fight in this one is not necessarily because of the death and murder and all that. Like, I don't want to have a repeat of his original wife and daughter. No, I don't want that. But maybe, like, he has to go save his wife from the Norse gods or something like that, and he doesn't want to tell the boy that that's where she is. That is an awesome prospect to me, and probably what I've been waiting for in this series for a long time. The other thing that I have a little bit of a gripe with, and I know this is nitpicking, but it actually kind of bugged me to an extent, is the title. So I know that there's a slight difference, and people have kind of pointed it out, that the original God of War had the Omega letter in the Greek alphabet. And this one instead has a circle of runes over it. But it's still called God of War. And I can only reason that they did it just because of brand recognition, but I almost kind of wonder if that's brand confusion. Because the first game is called God of War. And obviously one of the things that's going to happen here is to get people hyped up for this Viking Kratos, Sony is going to want people to play the previous God of War games. And so at that point it's like, well, God of War's out? And everybody's going to be, or new players at least, are going to be confused and go, well, then why is this one called God of War? So I almost kind of hope that there's a line at the very end where Kratos kind of takes the boy aside and says, no, now you're no longer a boy, you are a man. And I can't remember how the line exactly goes, but he's like, and this is a fine new beginning. And I almost want the title to be changed to God of War New Beginnings, because I really do think that this is a fresh new start, even though it's a take on an original idea for God of War 3, I think, to actually include other god pantheons, but I almost want it to be God of War New Beginnings, just because this is a new Kratos. And before people start correcting, no, it's not a new Kratos. Yes, it's the markings, but as far as his personality is concerned, he is new to me. He is not happier, but maybe a little bit more content, maybe a little bit more caring than he has been in previous games. So with that, we moved on to the next one, the next trailer, which was from Sony's Bend Studios, I think that's what it's called. And if you guys don't know the Bend Studios, they are the people who made Siphon Filter. And I don't think they've made anything since. Maybe a PS2 game here and there, but they actually announced their recent work, because a lot of people have been wondering, when are we going to see something from them? And so they had a trailer for a game called Days Gone. I put in Days Gone By on my notes, so I was a little confused. It's Days Gone. And at that point, the trailer looked good, but and we'll get more into Days Gone a little bit later because we got a full-on demonstration for it on the floor. But with that in mind, looking at the trailer itself, I could already tell you I was probably not going to be buying this game, and I wasn't going to be interested in this game because it looked post-apocalyptic. It hinted at zombie apocalypse. And it hinted at the fact that welcome to the world of The Last of Us, where everybody's a dick to each other. And so at that point, it was really hard to get invested into this game. It looks great. The audio's good, but again, it looks like a post-apocalyptic game. And so we'll go into this a little bit more deeper when we get into the demonstration. But these were the assessments that I had gotten just watching the trailer. It looks post-apocalyptic, and it looks like it's zombie apocalypse. So then we moved into the trailer for The Last Guardian, and holy crap, people, this thing still looks good. It was just a trailer, but thankfully, though, you guys got a release date. It is coming out October 25th, 2016. Congrats, Last Guardian fans. You have literally been waiting in development hell for probably, I want to say 10 years. 10 freaking years for this game to come out, and you're finally going to get it in your hands in 4 months. So I can't, like, I'm not a big fan of it, but I will tell you the trailer actually got me interested to go look into the other two games. I don't know if they're connected, but at least to be able to see something from this studio. But I can't help but be just absolutely excited for you guys. You, the Last Guardian fans, you have waited so long and been so patient, and you're finally getting the fruits of your labor. So good on you, man. And the trailer looked really good. I especially love the concept that we actually saw other. I don't know what to call it, but it's like a dog meets cat meets bird kind of thing. We got to see other creatures of its kind, but A, they can fly, and B, they hate humans. And so at that point, it makes kind of a character distinction with the one that the boy follows, especially since at the very end you got your wings, you cannot fly. So I'm like, oh, okay, so that's the character distinction, is that he is the one that's different because he can't fly. Something has happened to his wings, and he is not able to fly anymore, and that's what makes him different from the evil ones, I guess, because they hate humans. And you can kind of tell, too, they're a little bit more armored, they're a little bit darker. So, congrats to the Last Guardian fans. You guys have been waiting at least, it's got to be 10 years for this game to come out, and I'm glad you guys are going to be able to finally get this in your hands as long as you have a PS4 on October 25th. So, with that, let's move to the next trailer, which was more of a gameplay demo of Horizon Zero Dawn. And people will remember from last year, I was absolutely excited by this game because, holy crap, mecha dinosaurs and robotic animals. And so we got a gameplay demo for this one that, again, didn't really shed any light on the things that happened before. Because, well, as far as they're concerned... Sorry, I gotta take a drink here. As far as they're concerned, it's myth. And so I like that concept. Like, enough time has passed that this has become the norm. And we got to play a little bit around with the new girl who... Or not the new girl, but she's the same girl from the original trailer, but we got to know a little bit about her character. She's kind of a foil to be able to project yourself onto. I like that concept. But we also got to see that this game is freaking open world. It is... It's got Monster Hunter elements to it. It's pretty freaking awesome. Especially in the fact that in there, it looks like a lot of the weapons that she's using are kind of like EMPs or fire-based weapons. In fact, when she's fighting off like a bunch of crabs, you actually see her take parts from them to create these fire traps. And they go boom, and it's pretty freaking awesome. And I actually think this is going to be one of those think on your feet kind of games. But the most interesting part was actually when a creature called the Corruptors came out. And they look more machine-like than everything else. Everything else has kind of an animal look to it, but this thing came out and it looked like, well, Metal Gear. It looked robotic. And even better was, like, some of these animals have actually been tamed by the village. and the way this is one of those things that I have to kind of explain a little bit because when you can tell an animal is docile, it's got like a blue tinge to it. But in this case, we actually saw this corruptor like grab hold of one of the more docile animals. It starts to slowly turn red, and then it's vicious. It's attacking everything in sight. And so at that point, it's like, oh wow! So even the more docile creatures are not safe. I mean, this could literally kind of screw things up. And even better, we actually saw the other way around. So they kind of explain how you can bring these animals to your side, where you're quite a ways away from the village and you have to go get a mount. So you kind of hunt down this mecha ox or mecha moose and fight it for a while. You actually pull out the tether gun that we saw last year too, where you kind of tie the moose down, and then you stick your staff in there, and all of a sudden all of the redness that is in there is slowly turning blue. So it's like almost like you're hacking it. So that already looked awesome to me. I love the weapons. I love this whole concept. And then eventually this ox is your friend, and you can mount it, and that's how you get to the village. I look forward to this game. It looks awesome, and it's coming out next February. I believe it's February 28th, 2017. So I can guarantee you I'm going to be reviewing this. Up next, the next trailer we took on was, I believe it's been confirmed, it's from Quantic Dream, from the creator of Heavy Rain, Beyond Two Souls. I think Indigo Prophecy is his. And this new game is called Detroit Become Human. And it looks like you're playing an android, either a police officer or a hostage a hostage negotiator, I think is the best term. Because you actually go into this apartment, and a little girl has been taken hostage by her android caretaker. Not necessarily a parent, but like a nanny. And I love the distinction. Like they actually had blue tinges. I can't even believe this. Yeah, Horizon had this too. But where the negotiator that you're playing is blue. He's got blue eyes. He's got a blue armband. And this one, or this rogue android, actually has little hints of red. And so it's like, okay, well, this one is apparently outside of its programming. And one of the biggest things also was you get tons of choice in how you handle the situation. You can literally just insult this guy and he will kill the girl. He'll kill the little girl. Or you can have where you can you can find a gun in the apartment and you can shoot at him and accidentally hit her, or you can hit him, or you can befriend him and have him free the girl, or you can befriend him and then all of a sudden a sniper takes him out. The other cool part was that they actually have a little bit more story that's kind of Asimov in a way, because when the negotiator actually walks in, the mother's like, "You need to save my baby. You need to save my baby. What? You sent an android? How dare you send an android to save my baby? He's not going to care." And I like that sentiment because that kind of sets the world that we're in. And obviously we have a rogue robot at that point. So I'm excited for this one. I actually have never played Heavy Rain, Beyond Two Souls, any of that. I've wanted to, but it's one of those things where a giant list of games has prevented me from doing that. So I might actually pick up Detroit Become Human and see if I like the gameplay, and if so, maybe I'll go backwards and try out Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls. The next trailer on there was kind of the start of their whole VR deal, and oh man, that was kind of the gimmick this year. Like, everybody had something to announce on VR, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it did get a little annoying here and there to hear about, oh, EA's got VR products and Microsoft's got VR products. But this time around, at least Sony had something productive. It wasn't just like, we're doing this. We actually did get announced PlayStation VR, and we got a release date for it. It's coming out October 13th, 2016, with a price point of $400. So for those who want to get it, you can use your PlayStation 4 to be able to do it, or you can purchase a PlayStation 4 Neo to be able to run it. Either way, I believe works. My thoughts on the matter, I'm not going to go get it. I'm already planning on getting the NX next year, and that's already going to cost some money. And frankly, I'm just not interested in VR. So as alluring as that might be to some people, it isn't to me. And the $400 price point is a bit expensive, in my opinion. But that's me. But that actually launched up a bunch of VR games, one of which was, it was like a Outlast or Silent Hills is another example. Like what was it called? The PT demo that came out. And all of those kinds of games where the only thing you're armed with is a flashlight, and you are basically walking around this horrifically decaying house. And you're walking down the stairs and hearing the creaks, and you even go into the kitchen, you open up the pot, and it's just disgusting, and roaches are running around your hand, and it was absolutely disgusting, and kind of setting the atmosphere of like something horrible happened here, and something horrible is going to happen here. Then you go into the living room and you find a video cassette, you pop it into the VCR, and you find out about a Project Kitchen, and apparently a bunch of reaction videos from this game getting aired on the show floor last year, I think, at E3. I think that's what they were doing. And finally, we get some big scare and the reveal that this is Resident Evil 7. Holy crap, Resident Evil is going back to their freaking roots. I'm excited for it. I'm betting this is not just going to be for VR. I think that would be a bad move on Capcom's part. I will say this, though. If it is coming to console, I want the option for a third-person view. Because first-person view, I'm not scared or nothing. First-person views bug me personally. So at that point, I would prefer to have a third-person view, because then I don't have to deal with headaches or any of the other problems that come with that for me. But aside from that, it looked really, really good. I'm glad Capcom is supposedly going back to their roots, but we'll see, because we don't have a whole lot there. But we did get a release date, so it is coming out January 24th, I think is what it was. I have to look at my notes. January 24th, 2017. So you guys can look forward to Resident Evil 7 then. And then we moved on into the next VR deal, which was, let's see, we had Farpoint, which was a exploration / space shooter kind of thing. The only reason I say that is that it was a shooter is because eventually, like, a big spider creature comes out, and you actually can look at your gun and you can shoot at it. So I think it's mostly going to be like an exploration kind of thing. You're on a remote planet that looks like kind of like Mars, and you're just exploring. So that looked kind of cool, but again, not really interested in the VR. And I gotta hand the props, because the next game was more than EA actually announced in their Star Wars announcement, because we got the Star Wars Battlefront X-Wing mission, which is basically putting you in the cockpit of an X-Wing fighter. I'm assuming it'll have its own missions and everything like that. And that was cool, but the fact that it had the Battlefront tag kind of bugged me. Especially since people will know I didn't like the new Battlefront. And as much as it is Star Wars, and I love me some X-Wing dogfights, again, didn't motivate me to get a VR headset. So after that, we got Arkham VR, which was basically the Batman Arkham VR games by Rocksteady, and it looked really good. We had Mark Hamill kind of doing some voiceover, kind of setting it up, and again, it looked really good, but we didn't get to see a whole lot aside from it. It's Arkham VR, and it is being made by Rocksteady, so you know they're the ones that made the quote good Arkham games. So I think you're going to be in the right hands there. And then the last VR one we got was Final Fantasy 15. We got a nice little Chocobo trailer and things like that, but then we immediately boomed into combat, and not the main character that you're going to be playing, I think, in the main game, but one of his friends was wearing the PlayStation VR, and he was teleporting around, and he was shooting because he's the guy with the gun. So I'm guessing that if you play Final Fantasy 15 VR, you will be playing as him. Which is a nice little side story to be able to do for people who actually purchase the VR. I'm not interested because, again, I'm more of a Melee guy. I like to get into the thick of it. So that's not enough for me. But kudos to Square Enix for thinking of that. And then that was the end of the VR stuff. And then we moved into this trailer that looked really, really good on premise, it was basically walking onto a spaceship and then talking about your enemy off in another galaxy, and you authorize the mission. You get into a fighter plane that looks very similar to the new planes in the new Independence Day. And actually attacking the ship, you actually get out of the ships and get onto to the enemy ship's hull and start fighting there in your spacesuit. You eventually make your way to the captain's bridge to plant a bomb and blow out the windows so that everybody on the bridge dies. You eventually make your way into the ship's hold while doing all of this kind of shooter combat, and it's all looking really, really good, very futuristic. And you finally end out the mission, and then we get to see what the game is called, and it's Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. And there are going to be a couple of games where I actually say this, where the game looked really, really good, and the title came on the screen, and all my interest went away. Because that's exactly what happened. I thought it was remotely cool. It looked like it might have been a new IP from Sony, and then all of a sudden, Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, and now I'm not interested, because already I can tell you that the focus will be majority multiplayer, and the single player campaign won't be that long, and I just don't want to do multiplayer in a Call of Duty community, because I know that those communities are toxic. So, nothing against Call of Duty fans. I'm glad you guys have something to look forward to, but, well, that kind of sucked the air out of the room for me. Literally. And then finally we moved on to the next one, which was Modern Warfare Remastered. So the original Modern Warfare is getting remastered for PS4, and again, to all the shooters that I did this, and also to Infinite Warfare, whoop-de-freaking-do, because I'm just not interested in playing another COD game. But this is basically like a remastered story mode. I believe that you will get it, I think it's like up to 30 days before the game launches. So that was a nice kind of gesture to let you get access to that story mode, finish it out, and then the COD players will eventually go back to multiplayer. So, good on you. I'm not interested, unfortunately. And then probably the best announcement of the night that happened, at least from what I'm hearing from everybody else, where we all of a sudden get a backdrop that is very familiar to early PlayStation fans. Looks very much resembling one of the old mascots at the time. And then to solidify it even further, the Sony rep that's been here the entire time is actually walking out, and his shadow looks like a very familiar Bandicoot. And so at that point, they made the big announcement that Crash 1, 2, and 3 are being remastered for PS4. Now, technically, Sony does not have the license to be able to do that. They have to work with Activision on this, but they are going to be doing Crash 1, 2, and 3 remastered. And I'm guessing, personally, that they're going to be watching the sales numbers of those games, and if it does really, really well, then they'll probably make the argument to Activision, we need to make a new one. And who knows, Activision might look at that and say, yeah, we need to do that. So I'm loving that, because I won't say I'm the most adamant Crash fan. I've played 1, I have never played 2 or 3. But this actually got me excited, along with other things that have happened this year. So I'm absolutely excited, but also to get the blood pumping for Crash fans, if you are also a Skylanders fan, you got a big announcement too, because our wonderful little crazy Bandicoot is coming into Skylanders Imaginators. So you got that, and that looked pretty cool. But overall, I'm more excited that Crash 1, 2, and 3 are being remastered for PS4. Moving on to the next announcement, which was LEGO Star Wars The Force Awakens. It was just the trailer, because the thing is coming out in 2 weeks. And it still looks good, still looks very funny. But I actually was kind of sitting there going, really? Because I don't think a LEGO trailer has ever made an Xbox or a Sony conference. And people will probably have to correct me on that. But to my knowledge, it hasn't happened. And so The Force Awakens coming out was really cool. But then again, there's a lot of hype built around this particular game. So that was awesome. And then the next big thing that happened, and this is where I actually think there was a little bit of a tie in the conference. Because then they actually introduced Hideo freaking Kojima. He came out and he actually brought... First of all, his intro was awesome. They actually tried to do like this digital thing where as he was walking down the stairs were being created as he went down, but eventually he got too fast for it, and I don't think he cared. So at that point, it was really cool, and he didn't come alone, because he brought a trailer for his new game. And holy crap! It's looking really, really good. So first of all, they didn't tell us a whole lot. I can tell you that the game will be starring Norman Reedus. If you don't know who he is, you don't watch The Walking Dead. I had to go look that up. And all of the motion capture, kind of like with Phantom Pain, where a lot of it was done with Kiefer Sutherland, this one is being done with Norman Reedus. And, sorry guys, I've been talking for a while here. We basically get snuck into him, like, stark naked on the middle of what I'm guessing was an ocean floor with a bunch of dead crabs and dead fish all around it. And he wakes up and he notices that he has a little umbilical cord, and there's a baby that's attached to the exact same umbilical cord. And he picks up the baby and he's loving it, and it's in his arms, and then it disappears. He's like, what the crap? And then you start seeing these, like, handprints of oil, I'm guessing. Handprints and maybe even footprints. And then he stands up, and you actually start to see, like, he's pretty effed up. He's got this ginormous pouch on his belly. Kind of like, you know, going back to Christopher Judge, kind of like the Jaffa from Stargate SG-1, where he's got that big pouch, and then he all of a sudden is standing up, and there's just this barren wasteland with a bunch of dead fish, crabs, fish, whales all over the place. And in the distance, in the sky, you can see what looks like 5 different beings. And it's just really ominous looking, but it looks awesome. And it's called, and then we got the name for it, which was Death Stranding. And I can already tell you, I am looking forward to hearing whatever we can about this game. It's looking awesome. It actually kind of feels to me like maybe Kojima's not going to be in the stealth genre anymore. This one looks like it almost might be an action game. Like a legit action game. Overall, I loved it. I love the fact that Norman Reedus, like the model looked really, really good. And you could already get the feels just when he was holding the baby, and then all of a sudden the baby disappears, and you feel almost as violent as he does because he's seeing the footprints and all that. I'm excited for this game, and I can't wait to hear more from Hideo Kojima on the matter. And so the next announcement after Death Stranding was from Insomniac Games, and Insomniac makes Ratchet and Clank. And I already know at least 2 of my panelists on Geek News are excited by this announcement because it was a Spider-Man game. I cannot tell you if it's tied to Spider-Man Homecoming. I'm guessing it is, but there was no confirmation on it because all it was called was Spider-Man PS4. And it looked awesome. First of all, it looks like it's going back to the Spider-Man 2 game where it was like open world. And on top of that, the combat looked amazing. And we also got a new outfit. That's why I'm guessing this is the Spider-Man Homecoming version, because it also looks like the eyes from that one, but improvised. So that was awesome. And I look forward to hearing more about that as well. And then finally, to wrap up the conference, we went back to Days Gone. And everything I was worried about in that trailer was confirmed, because immediately we see zombies coming out. And big old zombie hordes. It looked like freaking World War Z, that whole scene where they're running up each other to get over the wall. That many zombies, like, literally coming at you. And I was already not too excited about this, but now it's confirmed I'm not excited for it. Because I am so sick and tired of post-apocalyptic games. I'm so sick and tired of zombie apocalypse games, or zombie apocalypse maps, or whatever you want to call it. And so at that point, I mean, me and Andrea are already having kind of that debate of, are we going to pick this up? Are we going to play it? Because it's looking very Last of Us. And I'm on the side of, no, I don't want to pick this up because I'm sick and tired of indulging this whole post-apocalyptic bullcrap. I am done with things like The Walking Dead. I will still stay with franchises that I know I like for example, Resident Evil. I will play Resident Evil 7. Or not. I mean, I haven't played since probably 5. Played a little bit of that and never went to 6. But I'm done with the oversaturation of post-apocalyptic zombie apocalypse games. And they're all over the place. Like, to the people who want to say that they aren't, they totally are. You could literally go to any console and see at least one game that follows that. Even the Wii U had Zombie U. So at that point, I'm just sick and tired of this whole prospect, and whether or not I pick up Days Gone, I don't know. But I'm right now thinking it probably won't happen, because I'm sick and tired of indulging this genre. I'd rather indulge other genres that I like and I think have great potential. But overall, I mean, well, let me get a little bit of negative out of the way. I was a little sad that Shenmue 3 didn't come back with a little bit of an update just to say we're working on the game. We're considering on bringing 1 and 2 to the PlayStation Store, things like that, but it was not there at all. So that was disappointing. I was also kind of shocked that the Final Fantasy VII Remaster was not shown off at the Sony Conference, at least for the fans that want to keep track of that. I do know that Square Enix made a bunch of announcements, but I don't think 7 Remastered was one of them. So at that point, I was a little disappointed, but overall, I hate to sound like a broken record, but Sony stole the freaking show today. Or with this conference. They won E3 again. This is like 3 years in a row. Especially with the fact that they had game after game after game that people were excited for. And they brought out the heavy hitters. They brought out God of War. They brought out Horizon Zero Dawn, Last Guardian, Days Gone to the people who are going to play that. Death Stranding. Now, like if you count out the Days Gone deal, Death Stranding was a great way to end out that conference because we wanted to see what Hideo Kojima was working on. We've been wanting to see that ever since we heard the PlayStation announcement. So overall, Sony's conference was awesome. And I'm looking forward to probably a good majority of the games that were announced there. And that's going to go ahead and do it for my review of the Sony or the PlayStation conference. Tune in next time, and I'll be taking on the Nintendo Treehouse live event that was supposedly going to be all Zelda, but turned out to be at least one more game in that mix. We'll see you next time.